Dr. Maher Bahloul, the holder of PhD in linguistics from the Cornell University and master's degree from the Sorbonne University. He is currently an associate professor of English at the American University of Sharjah. He will be presenting today a session under the title Empowering Learners, Turning Online into Fun-Line Learning. The session will begin in few minutes. Thank you. Dr. Maher, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you very much. I am ready.
Thank you.
So
would you like to share your presentation? The audience, this is just the ad from the conference itself. So it is just for you to look into it. Sorry, okay. Dr. Ma, it is just an ad from our team.
Yeah, do you see my presentation now?
I don't see your presentation yet. Can you share it? I don't
see it yet. Okay, let me share it. Close share tray. Window. Desktop. Share. Stop sharing. Okay, now I see you. Click here. Close share tray, or I just. Just my assistant is with me. Just 1 second. Do you see me or you don't see me?
I do see you, and I can tell that you shared something. Yes, I could see a screen.
You see the screen, okay.
Yes,
okay.
I can see the presentation now. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now, do you see the presentation? You also see me because I don't see myself.
It's okay. We can see the presentation, and I could see you, but can you just leave the camera open?
Oh, the camera is not open?
I think
1 second.
Maybe
I thought we left it open.
You've closed it?
No, it's open. The camera is open now.
I can see myself, but okay. Can you share your presentation?
Now, do you see my presentation?
Fine. I can see your presentation now. I can see your presentation, and I can see you. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Okay. Is the screen clearer now?
Yeah, everything is clear, Dr. Maher.
Okay, excellent. All right. Just tell me when you would like me to start.
My colleague Noura is going to inform us with the countdown when it's going to go live. Okay, you can start now, Mr. Maher. It's already open. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Well, everybody, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your patience. Second, I apologize for this delay. Things do happen online, and I think one would probably one should have maybe plan B. In any case, the plan B was to work through my phone, but I'm happy that I have now my desktop, and my apologies again. Okay, good. Today, I would like to really share with you something that I have been trying for the past couple of years. And, you know, when we all moved online, I try to adapt what I do in class with what I do online. And today I'll share with you a number of aspects within the teaching learning framework. And I hope you will benefit, you will enjoy what you will hear. I think as teachers, we would also like to be in a setup where we are having fun and our students are having fun. Now in class, it's easy to see this, because you can see students' faces, you can see students' visual expression, but online you don't know who is behind the that little dot that has a picture of the student. Okay, but we would like the experience, we would like our courses really to be quite entertaining and of course educational at the same time. So I'll come back to this later, but let me read this particular testimony from a student. The talk show was one of the best I've witnessed so far in English 207. English 207 is a course that I teach. It was well organized, adequately paced, informative, engaging, and interesting. I really liked the theme of it and how the presenters were very confident and fluent. Their readiness is very good, and they delivered all aspects of the chapter clearly and in a fun way. As for areas of improvement, I can't think of any faults in the show. It was a 10 out of 10 for me. So you see at the beginning, the talk show was one of the best I've witnessed so far. Like, what goes into your minds? And then I'm sure if you watch talk shows, maybe, you get either Larry Sanders or Bill Maher or probably O'Brien or Jimmy Fallon or Ellen or Noah. In fact, I would like to say it's students. It's our students. So our students are running these shows. You can see this game of shows. Let me try to see if, okay. So the idea here is borrowing something from the entertainment industry and bringing it into the educational field. I will explain this in more details, but the idea is instead of presenting in a regular PowerPoint like what I'm doing now, I ask my students to present first in pair and then in a talk show format. Okay, and the talk show has a number of aspects, but the idea of having a guest and a host like sums up a little bit the gist of the talk show. When you think about it, a talk show has pretty much a host who runs the show and has also a guest, and they share in between a number of pieces of information. So those pieces of information are interjected with some humor and are presented in a way that the audience enjoys watching. They themselves also enjoy. The questions are well chosen, and the answers, they're spontaneous, but they are also fun to watch right now. So this is a little bit the setup of the talk show. So the idea is, okay, we say the setup is entertaining, we like it, we want to watch it, but what about if the content becomes educational? And the way I work around this is the students become teachers. So each two students, they pretty much take a chapter. So the content becomes the chapter in our syllabus. And that particular chapter is prepared ahead of time by the students, but then delivered in this way. Okay, so then the whole idea becomes, of course, can be done in class and also can be done easily remotely. And then when we think about it, all these talk shows, we watch them. So we don't attend. So what that means is, it's like by nature, the talk show is online. So so when you think about it, you say anything that comes through um, through social media, through TV, is something that that I can use it online. Okay, so you got now a little bit of an idea about what this talk show is about. Let me just share with you. On the right side, you see lights, camera, action, and the brain, the use of film in education. Just to show a little bit about my interest, some of you probably know me, some of you don't. But in 2012, I published a book in which I advocate the use of film in education, and the whole book has 13 chapters. And the 13 chapters I co-edited with Carolyn Graham, the major jazz chant innovator and promoter. So the idea was to promote learning, effective learning, through being involved in short film production right now. Now, today you see on the left side this new focus, providing students with creative spaces, the power of edutainment. This is a monograph that is going to appear soon in the market. It's already been printed. And in this particular monograph, I focus a little bit on parts of what I talk about today. The idea of the talk show, you can think a little bit with me, and then you can sense that once you provide some creative space to your students, then you're somehow empowering them. You're telling them you can do it in your own way. Okay, the students in most cases, they're usually critical of what we do as teachers. Oh, look at that teacher, look at this teacher, look what he's doing, look what she's doing. But then we never give a little bit the ball, to them. So when it is in their court, then we tell them, okay, now it's your turn. What can you do right now? Of course, it's not a show of muscle, but it's some sort of an empowerment. It's one way of saying that learning should not really be like teacher focused. And the whole idea of I'll come to this of a facilitator as a teacher is engraved in this methodology. Okay, so first then I talk a little bit about the guidelines for this particular talk show style presentation. So what I tell them is, along with a classmate, you try to summarize a chapter and present it in a talk show style. Okay, and then I tell them there are 3 elements or 3 sections that you have to pretty much accomplish. The first one is the talk show session. So this is similar to the TV talk show format, host and a guest. It could be a radio show, it could be a phone conversation show, it could be a podcast show. But the idea is, I tell them, whatever show you like, you watch, maybe try to do something similar. Right. So usually this takes a little bit of time. And then I tell them, then we have a Q&A session after the talk show, and then we have a game and a quiz. So the students prepare 3 items. They prepare the talk show, they prepare the Q&A session, and then they prepare a game or a quiz. And this is just one way of reflecting on the content of this particular chapter. Okay, and then I tell them once you have a game, you will end up with a few winners. So you may prepare some prizes for the winners, right? And then I tell them, just be as creative as you can. Think outside of the box. Look around, explore, and I was not wrong, because they surprised me. Right now. So the online sessions, which I tried this summer and the second part of the spring, students really surprised me. Why? Because they played the game. And I'll show you some samples, and then we will take it from there. Okay, now the teacher facilitator aspect, I think you're probably all familiar with and know about. And the idea is we have been trying to move our focus from a teacher being the one who delivers content, or the only one who delivers content, and the students who are just recipients. So Vygotsky, for example, clearly says that the teacher must adopt the role of facilitator, not content provider. And you'll probably agree with me that content nowadays can be found anywhere, right? But the way you mediate that particular content so that it reaches the student in an effective way is really what makes the difference at the end of the day, whether students will not only get the content, but enjoy really getting that particular content or not. Okay, so I would say that in order to do this, we have to be, somehow comfortable and also aggressive with lesson planning. So we have to plan our lessons ahead of time. We have to prepare ourselves ahead of time, and this is a little bit a template of how I usually work out with the 50-minute session, for example. So as you see here, the first 20 minutes, these are devoted to the presentation, to the show performance. And we have another 10 minutes devoted to the Q&A. So we do 10 minutes we answer all the questions that are sent to the presenters. I'll explain a little bit how. And then we have 10 minutes for the game and the quiz. And then the final 10 minutes are meant for notes rewriting. The first 10 minutes, if you look to the left, the show performance is followed with notes taking. Okay, so I incorporate, I give the students a handout, I'll show you a sample, and then I tell them, you listen to the show, you watch the show, and then you take some notes. Okay, so note taking is very important here, but then you have a little bit of time at the end to look at your notes and then to write short paragraph summaries of what you had, taking notes of. Okay, and typically before they leave, they will have finished the short summary paragraphs, and then I ask them also if you see the feedback uploading. So they write a short also feedback to the presenters, and then they upload and then they leave. Now, when you adopt this particular strategy, students might not be able to finish. I usually, during the online, we've been asked to be flexible and so on and so forth. So what I do, I tell them you have till midnight, the end of the day, to upload your the notes, the short summaries, and the feedback. Okay. So then the session is pretty much, self-contained and centers around the talk show. So you can foresee a couple of presenters and then all the students busy. Okay. Now, what happens before the session? Let me talk a little bit about before the session. So before the session, then the students have already gotten a schedule, have chosen each other, gotten a schedule. They will be presenting on this particular chapter. Okay, so students are asked to review the chapter, and then the students also send questions to the presenters. Right. So I tell them when you review the chapter, try to come up with 5 questions. So each student will go through the chapter, and then they will send 5 questions to the presenters. So in a class of 20, the presenters will receive 100 questions. So before their presentations, they have 100 questions. But then because of time limitations, I tell them select 1 question from the set of 5 so that you can answer in the Q&A session. So students, when they come to present, they already have 20 questions selected, which were sent by their peers, classmates, and then they are going to address during that particular session. Now, what I found when I moved online, Slido.com is a website that allows for questions to be sent to students and viewed. So I use this particular platform. I send the event link, and then each student will write 5 questions, and then they become visible to the presenters. So the presenters collect all the questions through Slido.com. Okay, and then the last piece of information is that they prepare the answers and they select the most suitable method. Right. When it comes to Q&A, the traditional way is someone asks a question, someone answers. Now with social media, you know, you can have them as messages, you can have them as, you know, telephone calls, you can have them as you know, tweets, you can have them in so many different ways. So I'll share with you what students have come up with. Okay, so before the session, then every student goes through the chapter, and every student sends questions about the content to the presenters. So the presenters get the questions ahead of time and then start doing. So this is a sample pre-talk show task. So you can see the chapter, a guide to writing as an engineer by this Bjorn Curry and Murray, and then we're doing chapter 2. Okay, so we have the pages, and then you can see questions from chapter 2 for Hadi and Ghaith. So Hadi and Ghaith are in charge of chapter 2, and you have the event code and you have the event link. So usually they go to slido.com, they're prompted with the code, they type in the code, and then this is something I prepare, I generate, and then I send it to them. And then they enter the 5 questions. Okay. So this is how it is done. So what this shows also, this is pretty much a flipped classroom feature. There is a lot of literature about flipped classroom. We know the advantages of flipped classrooms. We know also the drawbacks of flipped classroom, but an eclectic approach try to take, you know, the best out of every methodology. So I use the flip methodology so that students get a chance to really look at the chapters ahead of time, and then come up with these questions and share the questions also with the presenters. Okay, so Hadi and Ghaith will get all the questions usually 2 days before the presentation, so that they can meet and also put their answers together. Okay, now during the talk show session, what happens? So students are given a handout and they're asked to perform the following tasks. So I usually prepare a handout and then I tell them to perform. They have 4 tasks to do. First, they have to take notes. So the handout has a notes section. I'll share that with you. The students also rewrite the notes in short paragraphs. And then they are called upon to ask their questions as part of the Q&A. So the questions they have already sent, they have sent them already to the presenters. The presenters have the questions, but when they display the question on the screen, they don't read them, because they would like to involve, the other students who are sitting there, at home comfortably. So they tell them, okay, Ali, it's your turn. You send us this question. Would you please read your question, to us? And then Ali is there, and Ali will be reading his question. So Ali doesn't know which question they selected, but then he will find out that this is the question that they selected for Ali. And then they answer the question. Okay. So the 4th one is students, they all participate in the quiz or the game. Okay. So this is what happens during the session. So as the students present, we don't want to, we would like to maximize engagement, and one of them I found quite appealing is the note taking. It's also a skill that is really appreciated professionally later on, whether in the business or the engineering field. You know, our students, when they go, they would like to be in a position where they conduct meetings, they do this, they do that. So note taking, I explained to them that this is a very important skill, and then they have to work on it. Okay. I'll share with you sample photos and maybe some short footages of these talk shows. This particular talk show is called The Daily Show. First, you will notice that the students will come up with very interesting titles to their shows. I'll show you a little bit, a few pictures. I hope the audio will work. Okay, it doesn't, but this is really a minute and 40 seconds footage of this particular daily show, where the presenter during this pandemic acts as if she's very sad, not to be able to see everyone live, and then also she introduces her classmate as an expert in this particular topic. And this is something also we discuss, and then I encourage them to kind of play this as a serious game, in the sense that the host could be X, the famous one, and the guest also could be Y, a famous also one. So they get this idea of they can change names, they can play with names, they can act on behalf of some famous people, and so on and so forth, right? These are some of the pictures of the shows. You can see students are quite good at also not just borrowing, but being imitating well. This is a radio show, Vimjin Radio, and you can see the topics, the writing process. So it's if you are in the UAE, there is a 103.8 that has a nice a radio station that has a nice program talking of books, and I tell them, you listen to this, and then you get an idea of how you can do this similar to this particular radio show. I have a few footages, but it looks like I'm not sure. Okay, if we have time later on, I'll play some of these. Okay. Another show. You see the imitation, a little bit of the Ellen show with the grammar show. You see this podcast, and you can sense that the courses the students that I have are from engineering and also from academic writing, general education course, and ESP course. Now let me share with you a little bit the talk show handout, because this is something that I pretty much work on. So this is the first page of the handout. As a young academic working on consolidating effective communication skills, active listening and summarization skills are of paramount importance. Of course, we discuss it in the beginning, and then you sensitize the students to the importance of these activities. But anyways, they have to, they have to interact with the show. and taking notes is important. So usually they fill in this information at the beginning, the talk show title, the talk show host, the talk show guest, and I give them a little bit of space, and visually they could see that there is, there is a little bit of form. There is a little bit of structure to this. Of course, this one could say, well, we don't need this handout. Of course, you don't need to do it this way, but you can do it differently. Now, the second page has instructions for taking notes. Take as many notes here as you can. And then here, of course, I tell them, of course, bullet points, not bullet points, whatever, key concepts, additional, extra information, names, anything you can write down, write it, because it's not organized. It's just jot down whatever you hear, whatever you can write. And then number one, short summary paragraphs. This is, of course, once they have the notes, then they can also look back and then try to reorganize these notes in short paragraphs. I tell them the chapter focuses on 4, 5, 6 aspects, and then you took notes. So now you should be able to put all these notes together, but I would like you to do it in like short paragraphs. And the short paragraph idea goes really hand in hand with professional communication. Most professional communication format, whether be it in business reports or engineering reports or emailing, they pretty much value, and they would like students to be comfortable with the short paragraphs, because each idea should be stated separately. And then the feedback paragraph is the one I asked them at the end, and this is like what you believe has been successful and what needs improvement in this presentation. And then I tell them all of you will be writing this, and then all of you will be receiving this, and all of you will be reacting to this. So it's something that not only one student gets feedback, but everyone gets everyone's feedback, and everyone gets to write for everyone else, because all of them are going to present and all of them are going to receive feedback. I'll tell you what I do with this later on. Okay, so this is just sample of from students' notes. Just they look bullet points. This is a sample of students like short paragraph. And then if of course you can see Dr. Amal here. So the student's name is Amal, but she took the title doctor because she's an expert in this particular field. So she was introduced as a doctor. So you can see Dr. Maram as well. So you will see a little bit like aspects of the show in these short summaries. Okay, and then you have the feedback paragraph. So it's a short, also you could see a paragraph, and then it asks them to highlight the areas of the successful areas and the areas of improvement, and students, write. And this particular activity, I'll also come back to talking a little bit about it in a quantitative way. Students have been expressing really like appreciation of, this is the first time you get all these, comments from all the students. And this is the first time I get a chance to talk back to, to my classmates and tell them, thank you for sending, for appreciating what we did, and thank you for your recommendations, and so on and so forth. So, so as you can see, so you have the notes, you have the short summaries, you have the short feedback, and so the second presenter's task is really the Q&A session, because as I said earlier, students have already used Slido.com to send their questions. So now the presenters went through all the questions, and then they selected one question from each, sometimes two questions from a particular student. And then now it's the time for them to to answer them. I'll just share with you a little bit of all the different ways they had used to do this particular section. Okay, so the questions are displayed and students are called to read them. I made this a little bit like, please do this so that, we're online. We don't know where the student is. So in the Q&A, any student can be called anytime. So it's not just note taking. You can be called anytime. So they have to really be on their toes. They don't know when, their turn is coming. Okay. And so questions, how did students deal with this? So they had them as tweets. They had them also as instant messages, and also they had them as phone calls. Okay, so I'll show you some of the pictures. First, this is a little bit a sample of such questions. In your opinion, is it more efficient for a team to focus on their individual skills to perform certain tasks individually, or should they work as a whole team? This is in the professional communication for engineers, where they have a chapter on teamwork or a section of a chapter. So a question relevant to that particular aspect. Okay. You can see the way it was not sent. It was sent through Slido, but students put it as if it were a tweet. Right? What is a blog or web blog? You can also see that these questions are put as tweets, and then you can see the likes, you can see the hearts, you can see so all these features for all these questions. When students see their questions displayed in this manner, they appreciate that particular, effort of, wow, this, like I received 15.6K, 8.9K, 579 comments and all of this, So the idea is questions are also become part that really include a lot of fun. You see also messages, so students present them as messages. You can see them as phone calls. You hear the ring, and it's Ryan, and sometimes it is Ryan online. And then Ryan has already been recorded. Sometimes Ryan has to, tell the question. Okay, so most importantly, any student may be called on to read their questions anytime. So that's each one is awaiting their turn. Okay. So the third task that the presenters would do after they finish the Q&A session is the quiz or the game. Okay, so join a game. Just to summarize a little bit, like how students have been, what they have been using. The Jeopardy game has been a popular one. The word puzzle game, crisscross game, quizzes.com game, kahoot.com game. The ahaslides.com game, the manti.com game. So all of these are quizzing / gaming platforms, and students have been using them. Just a few samples of such quizzes, and the way it works is that they sign in, they ask them, they give them a code, they sign in, and then they go and then they play. You can see top one. You can see numbers, 9 out of 10, 10 questions, students answered 9 correctly. Slides.com has also a similar platform. Quizzes also.com. Now, when we were in class, chocolate is distributed to the winners, sometimes to the whole class, But when we are online, some online gifts are sent. You can see these are the top scores are the top students, just samples. All right. Now, if a picture is 1,000 words, a paper is 1,000 explanations. This particular quote, I liked it because it shows a little bit the importance of the paper. So you are writing your notes on paper. So of course, paper, hard or digital, doesn't matter, but you're writing something. The importance of writing, be it a note taking or a short summary or a reflection, students would end up appreciating this particular medium. So usually towards the end there is a moment of, listen and silent use the same letters. So there is a silence because everyone is also focusing on writing the short summary and also the reflection. Okay, so they have that. So the next also activity quite connected to the talk show is that presenters really receive anonymously all their peers' feedback because of course you don't want to tie up some comment to X and students know that this student is been very critical or something. So usually I collect all the feedback and then I arrange them in a way and then send them to the presenters. So they don't know who said what, but they have all the feedback. So presenters are asked to react to their classmates' feedback through a short oral presentation. So the interaction is not finished. After the show, they have a second reaction. The two presenters will have read all the comments and then they will react to it. This is usually ended with a class reflection where students would have been both audience and presenter. So at the end of the semester, you have every single student who presented, who was a presenter and who was also an audience, and then a nice discussion of class of, what went well, what didn't go well, and so on and so forth. How can we improve our presentation skills, involvement skills, engagement skills, and so on and so forth is important. So sample reactions are shown below. This is a little bit the handout that I sent. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are pretty much like copy paste from the student section where they have the feedback. And then this is empty when it goes to them, the second, the right column, and I tell them try to react to each comment. So they pretty much react to each comment and then they submit this as also another separate submission. Okay, so students end up working, reading their peers, feedback, and then reacting to it. And then in the presentation, you can see they have a little visual that highlights the positive feedback, the negative feedback. I usually tell them don't write negative. It's really areas of improvement because no one is perfect. Everyone improves, and as we go on, you can see the good pace, entertaining opinions in Q&A. Slides were appealing, adapted technical difficulties, technical issues, too vague, tone, Q&A session. So they talk about this. So the students come out and then tell, the others how they felt when they read the feedback. This is also another presentation. This is how they decided to do it. So all the strength, and you can see all the aspects, and then they look a little bit also at the weaknesses, and then they comment on them. This is also a slide from another reaction. We ensure that our next episodes will be free from past mistakes, lessons learned. Best regards from the team of Wednesdays with Key Figures. Wednesdays with Key Figures is the title of the talk show, and then this is how they ended up their reaction section. Okay. I also asked them those who are comfortable with tables, so they can do a few tables. So you can see the total number of words received from all the feedback, 1,033. Then the soft words, where you can see the most common words here. It's not, but you can see words like interesting, clear, fast, successful, good, fun, entertaining. So the frequency of these words, and they pretty much comment on those. For some reason the videos are not working, but I think I'll put this presentation with the videos on Vimeo, so everyone could probably listen to these testimonies. So I'll just want to show you the sample production results. Production is what students produce. So when a student writes an essay, that's a product. When a student gives a presentation, that's a product. Right. Now, I looked a little bit at everything they had written from this particular talk show style presentation, and then the activities associated with it. Okay. Now you can see this is a summary of the notes. I just wanted to see, I saw, students writing, taking few notes, others taking abundant notes. And you can see this is a group of like 21 students. Some student, Jawahir, mashallah, wrote about 5,000 words, just the notes. Okay. And you can see that Hadi wrote like about 500 notes. Okay. So almost 10% of what Jawahir wrote. Of course, you will see students who are much more comfortable with the medium, with the methodology, and then they end up taking a lot of notes. This is the summary. You can see the summaries, the short summaries, and they range really from a few hundred to a few thousand. Okay, close to 5,500 words just for summaries, Hamad. But you can see the students are pretty much a few students are at the high end, other students, and this is normal, right? Okay. Now the feedback section, I tell them short paragraph, but some students really take their time, because when it is only due around midnight, then they have time to reflect, and some of them are quite generous with their writing. So you can see the feedback is also quite important right now. And then this is pretty much like the total. So when I look at almost, more than almost 8,000 words a student had generated just from the talk show, from the notes to the short summaries to the feedback. I think it tells me that this is a great production. So involvement is maximized. Okay. Of course, we could have a discussion. I'm not talking about the quality, I'm just talking about the quantity right now. But I read some samples, and then you could see this is a 200 level course. Students have already done a number of writing courses, so they are generally quite comfortable with writing. Okay. Now, if we look at it from like a pie perspective, you can see that we have 7 students who wrote about half of the total amount. Okay. You can see Hamad and Khalid and Jawahir and Maitha and Hamda and Rayan and Ali almost occupying half of the pie. So like 7 students wrote almost half of the quantity of writing. Okay, now, of course, what could you do? What could you say about this this particular, the quantitative analysis, I think from some perspective, one could probably associate the involvement with the production. I mean, if you enjoy something, if you like something, you do it. If you don't enjoy it, you don't like it, you don't do it right now. And the more you do, the more you express, that desire of you're enjoying what you're doing. Okay, so I'm saying this not because it's my course, but I'll show you a little bit some what we call independent evidence. Okay. So I run also a satisfaction survey, and this is anonymous, so I don't know who ticked what. Okay. So one of the questions is, the talk show presentation activity encourages creativity, and then you can see, more than 83% agree to this. The talk show experience has been highly beneficial. Also, more than 80% agree to this. Even online, the talk show activity continued to promote creative learning. You can see more than 84% agree with this. So the most left is strongly agree and then strongly disagree on the other side. So I strongly recommend the use of the talk show model in group presentations. You can see the 49.4 strongly agree, and then agree 22, and then 10% strongly disagree. Okay, now this particular pie shows, this is an analysis of what students have been doing online while listening and also while following during the whole session. So 19% are questions, 37% are thank you, 43.6% are clapping, and this is their behavior within the chat box. So between questions and thank you and also clapping, you can see clapping and thank you can put them together. And then you can see a great level of satisfaction. I just want to finish with a couple slides. This is the independent evidence. Overall, my learning experience in this course was positive. You can see the rate, and this is anonymous. This is done by the college, not by me. So the faculty member is the black line. So it exceeds a little bit the college and the department, and then it's almost, it's more than 4.5 out of 5. So this shows a little bit about this learning experience, how students view it. Okay, and finally, I just want to kind of put a number of testimonies from the students written in their reflections. 4 of them are here. I like the fact that the second one says, both of us are usually uncomfortable with presentations, so this style of presenting has helped us overcome our fear of public speaking, as this requires a conversation with our audience. You will see with this particular model of presentations, I will call it edutainment type methodology, that students manage to address and overcome their fears in so many different ways. The second page has also 5 testimonies, and then when you look at them closely, you can see how it has been for almost most students. I would say at least 90% of them, it has been a highly positive, interactive, learning, productive, and happy experience. So to summarize a little bit this pedagogy, I can say there is a lot of activity, there is a lot of collaboration, it's all student-centered, and there is also differentiation. Each student has its own place in this pedagogy. Okay, just like my students said when they took breaks to be continued. Just want to tell you that all of this will be probably clearly articulated in this monograph that is it has already been printed but not distributed yet, so it'll be soon on the market.
Dr.
Okay,
Maher,
I think
sorry for
I
this.
think with this I end my presentation. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you for attending. And if there is no time for Q&A, but if there are some questions anyone would like to ask, I'll be happy to answer the questions.
We are good so far. Thank you, Dr. Maher, for this valuable session and for sharing your valuable expertise. We hope that our audience, our attendees, gain the knowledge and are potentially able to apply it into their educational field. Thank you for your presence and hope that you stay with us for the next session, in which Mr. Clive Wilson